Welcome back to another edition of the Edge of Adventure podcast. My name is Adam Asher. Great to be here. Great to have you with us. And we've got a full house today. So many great guests joining us from Casita Linda in Mexico. So we're going to get to know them, get to know this awesome organization and the wonderful things that they do for the people of Mexico on today's broadcast. So let's get some introductions out of the way here. First, we've got Casita Linda's president joining us today, Louise Gilliam. Louise, welcome to the program.
Hello, thank you for having us.
It's great to have you here, and we will look forward to hearing more from you. But again, for the sake of introductions, let's also introduce another board member for Casita Linda, Lupita Alessio. Lupita, thanks for being here today.
Thanks to you. Pleased to be here.
Greg Blackburn is also joining us. Greg, you're the treasurer. And as we were talking, I was talking with Louise prior to starting the broadcast. She says, you're the guy that counts the money for Casita Linda. So welcome to the program. Great to have you.
Yeah, thank you. I have the easy job. Louise gets the money into the place and I just take care of it.
Well, it is, I'm sure, a team effort, and everybody has to do their part, and we appreciate each one of you. So again, welcome everybody. Great to, like I said, get those introductions out of the way. So with that, I'm going to start with Louise. Again, she is the president of this organization. Let's put this into context, though. As people were to look at a map of Mexico, Louise, Casita Linda does most of its work in what part of the country?
Well, we're about 3.5 hours away from Mexico City, but the people we serve live in the Campos, quite a bit on the outskirts of San Miguel.
So San Miguel de Allende is, from what I understand, a beautiful part of the country. Tell us about that small town and why you guys like that town so much.
Well, it's a wonderful town. We have about 14,000 expats that live here from Canada and the US and some from Europe. We are part, I think our population is about, what, 100,000, Gabby? About 100,000 people, 14,000 of them being expats. And as I said, the people that we serve live out in the Campos. They're very, very poor. They're wonderful people. The Mexican people are just fabulous. They're so compassionate and caring, and we just find them to be so grateful for what we do for them, but we don't give them things. They work for it, and they work very hard.
So what is the overview, right? We're talking to people now, or people are listening into the broadcast, the audio version, they're watching on the video version, and today they're getting to know Casita Linda. What is the overview of what this organization provides for the people in need in that part of Mexico?
We provide them shelter, warm shelter, hope, dignity. We provide them a path to a better tomorrow. And it's not that, as I say, it's not that we just give them anything. We vet these families very, very well. We have a social worker that goes out into the Campos and actually talks to the people. We make sure that we have a criteria that we follow for them to be the beneficiary of one of our homes. They have to own their own property, and this property has been handed down to them for generations. And they have to have their children in school. One of the adults has to work. There has to be no alcohol in the home. There has to be no abuse in the home. And so we vet them very, very well when they come to us and ask us to help them get a home. And they also, once we start building the home, and Greg can tell you more about this, once we start building the home, they donate 100 hours of labor to us. And we end up with this beautiful home of 3 bedrooms, a bathroom that they've never had. Most of our families that we actually build homes for have previously been living in a shack that is made of found materials. They live on dirt floors. They all sleep in one room. They they work 10, 12 hours a day, but the pay they get just doesn't allow them to provide some warm shelter for them. And it's just heartbreaking when you see these families and these children who are living in these awful, awful shacks. And, but they don't complain. It's absolutely amazing. They do not complain. They're wonderful.
Well, as I get to know you, Louise, and of course I've got the benefit too of the fact that we got to chat a few minutes before the broadcast started, and I'm seeing as I get to know you and the other members of your team that you have this love for Mexico. I think probably in general, right? You love the country and the people and that town, San Miguel, that you live in. You love there's that side of things that you love, and then you also have this heart and love for the people when you know that there are people in need and you come across the people who are in need. You all decided to do something about this. So I'm going to come back to that in a minute. We'll talk about where the organization sort of was founded. But first, I'm going to take your advice. I'm going to talk to Greg here for a minute and let him tell us about the structures that are built for these families that you have vetted and that you've come alongside to help them out. Greg, tell us about the process of building these homes and put it into perspective for those of us in the States maybe who haven't seen the living conditions that you guys are helping to provide in those campos there in Mexico.
Sure. The buildings that we build have kind of evolved over time. But even now, I have to say, they're nothing real fancy. They're very basic. A lot of these people don't have any running water. Some of them have many of them now really have electricity, but it's often borrowed via an extension cord from some neighbor, and there might be 5 or 6 houses sharing one electric meter, to get their power. But the houses that we build now, I can tell you some of the history of the things we've tried in the past, but the ones we're building now are kind of interesting. They're made out of a special kind of block that's made by a company in Puebla, which is probably 5 or 6 hours from here. And the company is founded by an architect and an engineer who's designed these blocks that fit into each other. There's, I think, 10 or 12 different shapes for corners and inside corners, outside corners, and that sort of thing. And the block goes together very quickly without any mortar between the layers. And so it's kind of a unique system. We've tried other systems, but we've been doing this one for quite a while. And one nice thing about it is that it gives the families with no skills a good opportunity to help out, because they can take a truckload of block basically and pile it up and make all the walls of a house inside of a day and a half. So that's the current model of the house we're building, and with this guy in Puebla.
Greg, you have been living in serving there in Mexico in this way for how many years?
I think it must be about 10. We've been in town 12 years. I think I got involved with Casita Linda maybe 10 years ago. I started out as a chelan, which was an assistant to a mason, screening sand and mixing mortar.
This is The Edge of Adventure. My name is Adam Asher, and we are talking today with board members, wonderful team that works and gives at Casita Linda, based in San Miguel de Allende in Mexico. And of course, they work in that area and in the parts of Mexico surrounding San Miguel that deal with poverty, extreme poverty in some cases. And I want to go back now, Louise, and ask the question, when this thing got started, this was how many years ago, and who is there of the three of you, and Lupita, we're going to come to you next. So you got to get ready now. We're going to hit you with a question after I talk to Louise here, but Where did this start, and why did you get involved?
It started in 2000 by a man named Jeffrey Brown and a woman named Irma Posada. And they saw a need. It was a very, very harsh winter here in San Miguel, and they found that these poor people were living out in the campos, as I say, in these shacks. And they thought, what can we do? So they formed a group, and I think Greg came in not too much after it first started. He's been around for a while. So about 3 or 4 men started it, and they started building these small homes out in the campo, and it just evolved. It evolved, and here we are 20 years later, and we have grown so much. We have built 124 homes. We have serviced almost 600 people. We have been in 5 neighborhoods and in 15 rural communities. So as I say, we have really come very, very far from the year 2000 when those 2 wonderful people started this, what then was a very, very small charity. I think right now we're about number 3 in San Miguel. There are a lot of charities in San Miguel, and the expats are just incredible in working here. They feel so much for the country and for the people. So there are quite a few charities involved, but as I say, we have evolved.
Well, what a wonderful thing. We introduced Lupita Alessio a few minutes ago, but now it's time to talk to Lupita. And I know Lupita has a heart for what you guys do. And I know there's also this thing called workshops that you guys do. And I'm going to ask Lupita to give us the overview of the workshops. What are the workshops, and why are they so important?
Well, the workshops are really important, as Louise says. They are a requisite and a very important element to be eligible for a house. And well, for us, it's very important to create and strengthen the sense of community. Up to now, the board has given around 400 community-based workshops, and we hope to continue doing them. They are really important because they have helped to create a sense of community, as I said, and they promote and inform the families on how to live a better and healthier, happier life.
How often, Lupita, is now, those of you who are watching the video version, you're going to now begin to see some pictures, because I found some pictures and I'm going to share them.
Yes.
How often do the workshops take place, Lupita?
Well, normally they take place two days a week, 1 hour. But now with the pandemic, they are being held intermittently whenever it's possible, with safe distance and masks, and in the opener. And well, they are really important. I think they are really important. I've seen incredible changes in the families. And we saw the need not only to give the workshops to women, but also to their spouses, because women were starting to become more aware of their situation. And well, it's been a quite interesting thing to do. We have an amazing social worker called Magdalena Perez, who is very warm and empathetic, and she knows the country very well. She knows the communities, and she is the one who gives us the first diagnosis of the communities where the help is needed.
So what are the types of things that are being covered in these workshops, Lupita?
Well, they range on issues from sexual education, family planning, alcoholism, domestic violence, self-esteem, community work, which is really important, water and nature conservancy, positive psychology, and family communication, among others.
You mentioned community. The community is important, and it's important to Casita Linda. I think you are working to help build communities. Am I right? First of all, is that something that you guys work to do? And if so, what's so important about that?
Well, you won't believe it, but when I first started giving some of the workshops, not all of them, many women of the community didn't know themselves. They didn't work together. They didn't know who they were. So in the workshops, we started telling them how important it was to cooperate and to work together in order to have better results. So it was incredible because many of the campaigns have resulted on promoting better communities and more cooperation between the families.
This is The Edge of Adventure. My name is Adam Asher. I've got some great guests today. That is, if you just heard her voice, that's Lupita Alessio. She's a board member with Casita Linda. And you can look them up online at casitalinda.org. And we've got other guests, other members of the board and members of their leadership joining us today for the broadcast. Greg, back to the pictures that we're sharing on the video version of the podcast. Looking here at what stage of the process we're at here in this particular picture.
Well, they've dug a trench to build a foundation, and they'll pour a slab on top of that at some point later. Can I make a couple of points about what Lupita said about community? We've had some pretty good examples of how people have come together in the community around what we're doing. One of them, there was a community in Nuevo Pantoja, which is an ejido land, which is right behind the fanciest supermarket in town, and it's very poor. And there was a big construction project nearby, and I think we might have gotten some of the women together, not intentionally, but they just took it on themselves to stage protests and kind of close a road that was being used as a bypass around this construction area that was creating incredible amounts of dust and stuff like that in their community. And they stood up for themselves and kind of blocked the road for a while. And I'm not sure that we don't have some responsibility for that, but we saw that as kind of a good thing because, you know, they got together to make something happen. There was one house in another community where the truck couldn't get up to near where the house was being built. And the women just appeared out of nowhere and created a fireman's chain to move like thousands of blocks up the hill, probably 100 yards to be able to build this house. And another thing that's happened with the community groups is that we build water cisterns, or we have built water cisterns out of chicken wire and cement. And the women in the communities build these things themselves with some guidance from a partner of ours, Caminos de Agua, because there's big problems with the water here. There's fluoride and arsenic in the water. So we build these water catchment tanks with the houses to be able to provide the family with water for drinking and cooking. And they built these huge cisterns, you know, maybe 10 or 15 women will get together and mix the cement and create the structure to store the water. It's sort of another example of how the community has come around in connection with the houses being built.
Let's go back now and ask Louise sort of about the before and after. If you were to paint the picture of life before Casita Linda is able to come alongside one of these families and these communities, before, what's life like, and then the change that's made from the investment, not just from you three. I mean, you three have a lot to do with it, but from all the people that support you guys and work and help to make this possible. What kind of a difference is that work making?
Let me just tell you a story, because it's a story that is so dear to my heart. back in 2006, I think, we built a home for a young woman. She came to our office and she wanted a house. She was about 20 years old at the time. And so we vetted the family, and it was a wonderful little family. She had 2 children, a husband who was working hard, but they just couldn't seem to get their feet on the ground. And he was working at one of the biggest grocery stores here. So our executive director at the time decided that we needed someone to clean our offices part-time twice a week. And so Gilly came over and started cleaning our offices. And then she became very enchanted with the computer and really wanted to learn the computers, which she did. Our director taught her. Fast forward, Gilly is now our office assistant. Her 2 children are in the international school. We do send her to school to learn English, but the 2 children are in the international school. They are speaking English. And the husband is now the head of security at the grocery store. What it has done for them, for their self-esteem, for realizing that there is a better tomorrow, it has been such a joy to see this family and to see how far they've come. And it just shows you what putting a roof over someone's head can do for them, for their self-esteem, for their knowing that there's something better out there. And they all work so hard. And this is just one story. There's a story of a woman, we built our 100th house for her, and she never worked. And now she's working at one of the grocery stores, and she's the lead in the bakery department. And this goes on and on for what you can do for people when they know that there is something better out there, and all they need is just a little help. And I also want to tell you that we partner with some other charities in town. We partner with the special school for the deaf here, and they make the furniture that we put in our houses. They make a table and 2 benches. They make beds. You have to understand that these people have never slept on a bed. And I remember once showing one of the little boys a pillowcase, and he did not know what it was. Or when you show them their beds and they bounce on it for the first time. And we have a group of women called the Blanket Babes, and they crochet bedspreads for all of our beds, very colorful bedspreads. And we are also involved with the the Unitarian University Fellowship here in San Miguel. And they are really one of our yearly donors, very nice donors. So there are a lot of people. We're involved with the Caminos de Agua and the rain harvesting and the tanacos that they build. It really does take a village. It really, really does. It's not just a saying. It's really nice when you can team up with other charitable endeavors here and come out with a wonderful result.
That's Louise Gilliam, the president of Casita Linda. I've got 3 great guests, all of them joining me today from Casita Linda. And of course, they're in Mexico, based in the sort of headquarters, I guess, is San Miguel de Allende. And they work in that area, and certainly in the areas of great need around that wonderful city. So there's lots of different organizations doing great things in that area. But let's ask Greg this question: are these other organizations doing what you guys do, or have you guys found this as kind of the Casita Linda niche to be able to serve in this way? In other words, are there other organizations making these kinds of houses in that area there?
Not in our area. We're the only ones that build housing for people. Habitat for Humanity does work in Mexico in some areas, as I understand it. They have a different model from us. They typically buy a tract of land and then build a bunch of houses on it. And we just do them one at a time on land that people kind of own. There's a strange, I think I mentioned the word ejido before. I don't know if you or your listeners know what an ejido is, but ejido is land that was liberated in the 1910 revolution and given to the peasants that lived on the haciendas at the time. But it took them a long time to kind of distribute the land, and it's never been what they call regularized. Which means that people don't have deeds. There are no boundaries have been established or anything like that, and the people don't pay taxes. And as a result, the towns here don't give them any services. Most of the areas where we work, there are rough dirt roads that are just sort of created by traffic going over them. There's typically no water, no power, no services at all. So anyway, that's the kind of the area where we work, and we have to do our best to make sure that the people that we're building for actually own the land, or as close as they can get to owning the land, because there's no such thing as a deed. Basically, we have to get an approval from the delegado, who is the head of the community, the ejido that we're working in, and he verifies that such and such a family owns a particular parcel of land, and that sort of clears the way for us to build a house on the land.
Greg Blackburn joining us today, treasurer and leadership from Casita Linda. Lupita Alessio, let's ask you the following question now. Okay, so you're building houses and you're providing these workshops, and that's meeting the needs, various needs that the communities have there. Simplify it for us. What do you think personally is the biggest need that these communities have? And what's the need that you see as you work with these people? Maybe just what they need on a daily basis that you guys want to help to provide.
Well, that's a very hard question because there are so many needs. People need to be heard, to listen to them. Of course, they need shelter, which is very important, and they need to have awareness of their situation in order to change, and to change for the better. I don't know. There are so many needs to have a love, to feel, to be resilient, to be empathetic with them, to be warm. Well, they need food, of course, especially now with the pandemic, which Casita Linda is doing the job. They need nutritious food. That's some of the things I'd say.
I know it's not really a fair question, but there's so many needs. But from a listening standpoint, as I hear your answer, and as I know the listeners, as they hear that, it's what I'm hearing more than anything, Lupita, is your heart and the heart
Yes.
from Casita Linda, your collective heart for the people in all these ways that you want to help and that you love them and respect them. And that's what makes the organization so inspiring. That's why I like to get to know you and talk to you, each one of you. Louise, what of all of this, what do you find the most inspiring?
I think the fact that once we complete the house, and I wanted to tell you this before because it's really wonderful. Once we complete a house, the recipients always insist on having a celebration. And we are a very small board. We only have 6 people on our board. And so they really want to thank us for what we've done. And they usually lay out this buffet of chicken mole and rice, and we bring a big cake, and it's a big celebration. It's just wonderful. But I think the most gratifying thing for me is to know that we have helped a family get on a path to a better tomorrow, that they understand that there is hope and that they can live with dignity, and that they are not asking for handouts. And I think that's very important. We are totally donation driven. Our board is all volunteer. We only have 3 paid part-time employees. So our board is, I can't tell you how proud I am of our board. They're incredible people. They work with us. Anything we want, the board is right there. The board is willing to do anything to help these people. So it's satisfying to all of us, I think, when we complete the house and we see the family and they're so happy, and they have, their self-esteem has just risen beyond what you can possibly imagine.
Greg, what do you think the greatest need that Casita Linda faces these days?
Well, probably the top 3 are money, money, and money. I'm sure you heard that story all the time.
I
But
did.
this-
I asked the treasurer this question, so that's a great answer.
You knew the answer you were going to get, I expect. But yes, we have contractors and employees that do the work of building the houses, and we pay them. In the beginning, it was all done by volunteer labor, but as we've grown and things have changed, we've been through different models where we hired workers for a while. Now we have a contractor, and so basically, it's for us, it's obtaining the money and then spending it wisely and selecting the right families to receive the houses and that sort of thing. This year has been a little tougher for us as well as others, I guess, because normally we raise most of our money in a gala that we have in October every year. And of course, we couldn't have it last year, and we're a little bit worried about this year. So, money's been a little bit tight, but we're plugging along. We've had a lot of loyal, generous donors who've sort of stepped up in the situation where we haven't been able to raise the money that we normally raise in our fundraiser. We have great partners here that help with different aspects of it. As Louise alluded to, we have the School for Special Needs that builds the furniture for us. We have Caminos de Agua that helps us with the water harvesting systems, and the Blanket Babes. But money is our biggest need.
I'm just going to ask one question, and I want each of you to answer it. And we'll start with Lupita. So Lupita gets to go first. All right. What do you love the most about the opportunity you have to work and to serve in this way?
Well, I love to give back. I've been blessed with so many opportunities in my life that the first time I visited nearly 6 years ago the community of Palo, Colorado with Louise, I was heartbroken when I saw the situation in which so many families lived. And when I got back home, I decided I had to give back. So what I love is how much I learned from all these women, and how much they have changed for the better, and how have they changed their families too. That's what I love. I love the way things have changed for the better.
It's a great answer. Greg, what do you love about the work you get to do with Casita Linda?
Well, I love, being out in the field when the houses are being built. It's kind of by default, I guess, come to me to inspect the work as it goes along. And I love to see the little kids in the family helping out. There was one kid in Palo, Colorado, one of the communities where we worked, and I think he was less than 10, but he built a whole wall by himself with these masonry blocks, on the thing, and they're so happy when they see that they're going to get their own room instead of sleeping on the floor next to their mother and father's bed or something like that, and having the electricity and lights in the house, which often they've never had before. So seeing those sorts of things, I think is the greatest joy for me. I remember one kid was closer in town, and also a kid under 10 years old, a boy, and he worked so hard that one of our volunteers who was helping build the house bought him a bicycle at the end as a reward. And it was, I think, a great learning experience for that kid. And it was, being rewarded for his hard work. And I don't know that happened to him very often, but it was really nice to see that.
So, Louise, now that the question is coming your direction as we kind of tie the ribbons on our conversation today. I want you to answer that question. Louise Gilliam, president of Casita Linda, and joining us today, one of our three wonderful guests. Louise, what do you love the most about this privilege you have?
Well, I think Lupita said it so well. We've all been blessed. We've been blessed in our families. We've been blessed to live in this beautiful community, and you have to give back. You can't just be takers in life. You have to give back a little. I think as president of the organization, I really enjoy seeing how we continue to evolve, how we continue to get better, how we continue to build more houses and better houses. And I'm just so proud of our organization and proud of our donors, and especially proud of our incredible executive director. She's unbelievable, Gabriela, and our board. I just enjoy seeing us get better and better and helping more and more people as time goes on.
Well, again, I'm inviting everybody to reach out to Casita Linda, and you can do that by going to the website casitalinda.org, casitalinda.org. Get to know them, learn more about their organization, connect with them, send them a little note, tell them how much you appreciate what they do. And as we mentioned before, if you feel called to help them out financially, as I always say, you should. If you're feeling it, then you should be obedient to that and help them out. Come alongside them. There's so much heart in what you guys do. And as mentioned, I think before we started the broadcast, Mexico is a very a special place for me, near and dear to my heart for a lot of reasons. And I am envious right now that you guys are in San Miguel de Allende, such a beautiful town, beautiful part of the country. But I appreciate what you guys do. Thanks for taking the time to tell your story. God bless each and every one of you. Louise Gilliam, president, Greg Blackburn, treasurer, and also Lupita Alessio, board member, all three joining us today from Mexico, right here on the Edge of Adventure. So thank you all so much, and we look forward to seeing the great things that you guys will do in the very near future.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you all. And thank you for listening and watching right here so faithfully as a part of the family here at the Edge of Adventure. We'll see you again next time.